The room was filled with the usual hum of conversation, the shuffle of papers, the quiet tap of polished boots against the floor. Marines chatted about strategy, upcoming exercises, and stories of past missions. But in the corner of the room, one young woman stood, holding her folder close, her posture impeccable, her face calm. She was new to the base, and too many, just another officer. Then came the laugh. Marine Captain, broad-shouldered and brimming with confidence, turned toward her with a sneer. "Rank? What rank are you again?" His words dripped with condescension, sharp and dismissive. He chuckled, a sound that echoed through the otherwise quiet room. "Don, tell me the big brass sent a kid to tell us what to do." She froze for a heartbeat, eyes steady, expression unflinching. Inside, a familiar surge of irritation mixed with a practiced calm. This happens every time, she thought. They see the uniform, not the years of work behind it. They hear the title, not the authority it carries. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. The sun filtered through the blinds, casting sharp lines of light across the room. Dust motes danced lazily in the beams, catching the tension in the air like tiny suspended particles of anticipation. Her hands were steady, but the memories of long nights, grueling missions, and countless decisions weighing on lives flickered across her mind. She had faced much more dangerous situations than an insult in a room full of Marines. Her name was Commander Alina Rhodes. To this Marine captain, she was just another officer to mock. To the rest of the room, she was a figure who carried decades of discipline, courage, and leadership, though no one there yet realized it. "Captain Rhodes," she said softly, yet her voice carried a weight that made heads turn. "I believe our current protocol may need reevaluation. Shall we go over the plans?" The laughter faltered. The room shifted subtly, the air tightening. Soldiers and officers exchanged glances, sensing the authority beneath her calm demeanor, though most could not yet name it. The captain's smirk hardened. "I didn't realize we were taking orders from—" She stopped him with a single raised hand, her eyes locking onto his with unwavering focus. "You will, sir? And you'll find that our objectives are aligned with operational efficiency, not personal ego." The room went silent, the tension thick enough to feel. Every movement, the shuffle of boots, the nervous clearing of throats, the subtle exhale of breath was amplified in the stillness. Soldiers were now leaning forward, curiosity and skepticism warring with the growing recognition that this was no ordinary officer. Alina opened her folder with precise movements, revealing detailed plans, contingencies, and risk assessments. Every page bore the mark of experience, calculations honed by years in the field, strategies refined through missions where lives depended on perfection. The captain's gaze flickered downward, momentarily caught in the undeniable professionalism of the document. Yet pride, stubborn and sharp, clung to him. He leaned back, attempting one last mocking smile. "Well, I suppose a plan is a plan," but Alina tilted her head slightly, allowing a small pause, a beat that stretched long enough for the room to absorb the quiet authority in her posture. Then she spoke. "Captain, perhaps it's time you understood who you are addressing. My title is not what I wear on my uniform. It is what I have earned through operations, command, and years of service that few in this room could endure without faltering." Whispers rippled through the room, eyes widened. Some soldiers leaned in, straining to hear. The subtle shift was palpable, for the first time. The room was no longer just a collection of ranks and uniforms. It was a place where respect had to be reckoned with, where authority demanded acknowledgement. She stepped closer, each movement deliberate, measured, and unassailable. "I am Rear Admiral Alina Rhodes," she said, each word crisp, carrying the weight of both history and presence. "And I am here to ensure the success of this operation and the safety of every Marine in this room." The captain's eyes widened. His smirk vanished, replaced by shock and a dawning comprehension. The laughter, once so brash, was swallowed by the room itself. Its murmurs surged like an electric current, rising and falling as disbelief and awe collided. Soldiers who had been on the verge of mockery now sat stiffly, some whispering, some staring, all recognizing that they had underestimated her. The moral tension hung thick. Could the captain recover, or would he continue to cling to pride? Could the room reconcile its assumptions with the reality before them? Some officers shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the implicit lesson. Authority earned is never questioned lightly, and experience is a silent, invisible force that cannot be mocked. Alina's gaze swept across the room, observing reactions with quiet precision. She did not need to raise her voice. She did not need to assert dominance. The truth of her service, her command, and her decisions radiated outward, demanding acknowledgement. Every soldier present could feel it, the kind of presence that turns whispers into respect, skepticism into trust. The captain swallowed, finally nodding, though awkwardly. "Admiral, I apologize." "I misjudged." Alina inclined her head slightly. "Acknowledgement is appreciated, sir, but understanding is earned in the field, not in words alone." Her eyes softened slightly. Not with condescension, but with the quiet compassion that only true leadership allows. The room had shifted. What had begun as mockery had transformed into a shared recognition of dedication, skill, and authority. Soldiers whispered among themselves, recounting missions they had heard of, recalling the influence of her decisions. And finally, seeing her not as a uniform, but as a person who had lived the very principles she enforced. She guided them through the plans with unmatched clarity. Each step, each contingency, was explained with precision and clarity. Soldiers listened intently, no longer doubting, no longer sneering. Coordination was seamless. Movements were synchronized. Every instruction was followed with efficiency born of trust, not fear. The operation, once mired in arrogance and skepticism, became an orchestrated tide of readiness. Each Marine, knowing their role, guided by the unspoken authority of the Rear Admiral. As the meeting drew to a close, the room was transformed. The captain, once brash and loud, now stood quietly, absorbing the gravity of his earlier misjudgment. The murmurs of the other soldiers carried respect, awe, and a subtle understanding. They had witnessed an authority that demanded recognition not through intimidation, but through presence, experience, and undeniable competence. Alina stepped back, allowing the room to settle. A final glance at the assembled Marines revealed comprehension dawning in their eyes. Leadership, she knew, is often quiet, subtle, and absolute. It does not demand applause, commands trust, and that trust, once earned, reshapes perceptions. Because true authority is earned, never assumed, and sometimes a moment of arrogance is the perfect stage for respect to be realized. As she left the room, the sunlight catching the edges of her insignia, she reflected on the lesson imparted not to the captain, but to everyone present. Courage and experience, quiet and unassuming, are forces that transform environments, humble egos, and inspire excellence without a single shout. Because respect isn't demanded, it's recognized, and sometimes the silence of earned authority resonates louder than any voice in the room. If this story inspired you, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Whispered Words for more stories where courage, intelligence, and quiet strength redefine the meaning of leadership. Because courage doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And sometimes, the quietest rank holds the loudest authority.